Okay, the next topic is urine and renal function test. So composition and properties of urine, we have appearance, right? It has certain color, right? Can be clear to amber. Odor, right? Has specific gravity, osmolarity, pH, and you can see that in here. So basically there are two basic characteristics. Some of them are going to be physical properties and the other one are going to be chemical characteristics. Specific gravity, osmolarity, pH, this is something you should know for your exam. Normal chemical composition, you have salt, potassium, phosphate, calcium, right? And nitrous waste. Very important. You're supposed to have urea, creatinine, uric acid, right? So those are normal findings in urine. You don't find, for example, glucose. Glucose is an abnormal finding. You don't find blood. That's an abnormal finding. So these are normal findings. So you should know the characteristics of urine, physical and chemical characteristics, basically a specific gravity, osmolarity, pH, as well as the inorganic ions such as sodium chloride, potassium, and calcium. Okay, but remember, this is normal. Abnormal are the ones that you're not supposed to find, such as glucose and blood. Urine volume is approximately 1 to 2 liters per day. We already covered that. Diabetes, you find glucose only if there's too much glucose in your blood. They cannot be reabsorbed. Renal function test is to verify and to see the function of your kidneys, which is going to be decreased in the case of diseases. Some of these tests can be renal clearance, which talks about the ability that has the kidneys in order to get rid of some substances. And the other one is glomerular filtration rate, which is how much gets filtered at a certain period of time. And you don't need to know the characteristics on how these tests are done. You just need to know that there are some tests for certain diseases to see how the kidneys are working. Next is urine storage and elimination. Once the urine is formed in your kidneys, the urine is transferred from the kidneys to your urinary bladder through the urethers. We have two urethers, one on each side, and it's going to take the urine towards the urinary bladder. As you can see here, you have the ureters in here, one on the right side, the other one on the left side. Right here, you have two of them. And right here, you have the urinary bladder that expands in order to hold the urine. Inside the urinary bladder, you're going to see that you have rugae. You have the urethral openings. This one right here, that's where the urine is going to enter the urinary bladder, and this area is called the trigone. Okay, as you can see here, you have two sphincters. One is an internal sphincter, the other one is an external sphincter. This one represents the urinary bladder in the case of the male reproductive system, in the male, and this one in the females. Some structures obviously are shared between the male reproductive system and the urinary system. As you can see here, you have the prostate that is going to be surrounding the urethra that takes the urine out. And then you have in here the spongy urethra that takes the urinary out through the penis. We have two sphincters. This is the internal sphincter and this is the external sphincter. If you compare that to the female, you can see here there is no prostate, and not only that, but urethra is obviously shorter. Okay, so if we keep scrolling down, we have in here the urethra. We said we have different lengths in the case of males and females, and voiding urine. In order to do that, the urine, we need to eliminate that by opening two sphincters. As we said, we have an internal sphincter and external sphincter. Internal sphincter is involuntary, the external sphincter is voluntary. So therefore, we have an involuntary control and a voluntary control of the elimination of urine. And this is obviously control at the level of the spinal cord with the reflex, as well as the part that is the voluntary control is done by your brain, and therefore the central nervous system is in control of urination by controlling the internal sphincter as well as external sphincter. Okay, and if we keep scrolling down, you have diseases in there. That's not something that you need to cover, and that's about it for this part.